Billie Eilish was just pulled off the set of an Under Armour commercial by producers after reportedly causing a full-blown scene in front of over 100 people.
New video of Billie Eilish shows us the hazards of being a rock star. She was walking by fans lined up at a barricade when one person grabbed a hold of her and slammed her into the divider.
Extras, crew members, coordinators, all of them standing right there watching it happen. This was not some small disagreement behind closed doors. This played out on a soundstage, where Billie was supposed to be filming a mini music video for Under Armour's summer 2026 clothing lineup.
Billie Eilish has 2 more shows at the Kaseya Center this weekend.
Producers reportedly walked her off set after she refused to follow the planned choreography, clashed with the director over how segments should be filmed, and made a scene that shut down production for the entire day. The whole project got delayed by a full week. And on top of all that, reports say she is now demanding a higher payout than what was already agreed to in a written contract. But here is the thing. The Under Armour disaster is not really the story. It is just the latest proof that everything around Billie Eilish is falling apart. And to understand how it got this bad, you have to go back to where the real damage started. The 2026 Grammy Awards. That is where this whole spiral kicked off.
Everyone else in this category are so amazing. I love you so much. I feel so honored every time I get to be in this room.
Billie used her platform during one of the biggest music events of the year to make her now infamous stolen land remarks on live television. And the reaction was immediate. Within hours, the internet split right down the middle. Clips of the moment were everywhere. TikTok reaction videos stacking up millions of views. Twitter threads breaking down what she said word by word. YouTube commentary channels already calling it a career-defining mistake before the sun came up the next morning. The comment sections across every platform were brutal. Some fans jumped in to defend her, saying she was brave for speaking up and that the backlash was being driven by people who never liked her in the first place. But the other side was louder and angrier, and they were not letting this one go. And this is what a lot of people forget about that first wave of backlash. It was not just coming from random internet trolls. A huge chunk of the people who turned on Billie that night were her own fans. People who had bought tickets to her shows, streamed her albums on repeat, defended her online for years. That is what made this different from a normal celebrity controversy. When your own fan base fractures, the damage hits different. Strangers hating you is noise. Your own supporters walking away is a hit that changes the math for every brand, every label, and every partnership attached to your name. Now here is where Billie and her team made the critical mistake that turned a rough week into a full-blown crisis. Instead of going quiet and letting the PR team manage the fallout behind the scenes, Billie doubled down, hard. Anti-ICE comments started showing up in interviews. Follow-up remarks that were clearly meant to stand her ground only added more fuel. Every time people thought, okay, she is going to take a breath and let this cool off, she or her brother would pop up with another statement that made the whole thing worse. And the thing about doubling down during a backlash is that it does not make the other side respect you. It makes them dig in harder. Every new comment gave critics fresh material to work with. Every new headline extended the news cycle by another week. The story that should have faded in a few days was still trending a month later because Billie and her team kept feeding it. And here is the detail that people close to the situation keep bringing up. It was not just the political remarks that frustrated industry people. It was the attitude behind them. The sense that Billie and Phineas believed they were above the consequences. That the rules of how celebrity backlash works somehow did not apply to them. That confidence might have worked 5 years ago when the whole world was on her side. But in the middle of a firestorm, it read as tone deaf. And tone deaf is the one thing a brand partner never wants to see from the face of their campaign. But what really made this spiral out of control was not just what Billie was saying, it was what the internet was doing with it. Old interviews started popping back up, with people reframing casual quotes from years ago as evidence of a bigger pattern. Reaction channels that had once praised her began releasing videos, questioning her judgment and her attitude. Fan edits that used to celebrate her got reworked into side-by-side comparison videos designed to make her look all over the place. Threads on Twitter and Reddit began listing every messy moment from the last 3 years and presenting them as a timeline of red flags that people supposedly should have seen coming. And every day that passed without a strong, clear, human response from Billie gave the internet more room to fill the silence with its own version of the story. That is how a backlash becomes a narrative. And once the narrative takes hold, it is almost impossible to shake. Pay attention to this next detail, because it explains everything. The backlash did not just stay on fan pages and gossip accounts. It started showing up in entertainment news. And the story shifted from one bad moment at the Grammys to a bigger question. Was Billie Eilish entering a harder chapter of her career? Was this the beginning of a real decline? A fan fight online can blow over in a week. A media story about a star in trouble, that can follow them for years. And once entertainment reporters start framing your situation as a downfall narrative, every single thing you do after that gets filtered through that lens. Every appearance looks like damage control. Every Instagram post gets picked apart. Every project announcement gets questioned. That is the stage Billie is at right now, and the official response from her team only made it worse. Some people said it came too late, that the window for a quick, honest statement had already closed by the time anything was actually said publicly. Others said the response felt too rehearsed, too polished, like it had been written by a room full of lawyers instead of coming from Billie herself. That put her in an impossible spot. Fans wanted raw honesty. The industry wanted careful, brand-safe words. Trying to please both at the same time meant satisfying neither. And the worst part, by the time the official response came out, the narrative had already been set. Millions of reaction videos and comment threads had been building for weeks. No amount of carefully worded statements was going to override any of that. The moment to get ahead of this story had already passed. And that missed window is something Billie's team is still paying for today. And this is where her brother, Phineas, becomes a much bigger part of the conversation. Because Phineas is not just Billie's brother. He is her creative partner, her co-producer, and by most accounts, one of the most influential voices in her inner circle. They built this whole thing together from that bedroom in Highland Park. He produced the music that made her famous. He has been in the room for almost every major decision of her career. And that history is exactly why this part of the story is so complicated. Because according to multiple reports, Phineas has been making things significantly worse at almost every stage of this fallout. It started during the post-Grammy aftermath, when Phineas was right there alongside Billie, doubling down publicly instead of letting the PR team steer the response. Where most handlers or advisors would have been working behind the scenes to de-escalate, Phineas was reportedly fueling the fire with his own remarks and his own frustration with how the public was reacting. And the problem with that is simple. When the person closest to you is also the person telling you that everyone else is wrong and you should keep pushing, you stop hearing the warnings that could actually save your career. That is how echo chambers form. And that is reportedly what is happening inside Team Eilish right now. And that pattern did not stop with the Grammys. On the Under Armour set, Phineas was reportedly going back and forth with producers and coordinators because they would not let Billie improvise or go off script. He was upset that the brand wanted things done their way. But the bigger issue goes beyond one commercial set. Reports say there is growing tension between Billie's inner circle and the handlers, managers, and brand partners who are trying to get her to course correct. Phineas reportedly wants Billie to stay true to herself and not bend to outside pressure. And in theory, that sounds great. Loyalty like that is rare in this industry. But in practice, when every brand is walking away and every new statement is creating a fresh round of backlash, staying true to yourself starts looking a lot less like courage and a lot more like the two of them driving the car off a cliff together while refusing to check the map. The brother-sister bond that built Billie Eilish into a global superstar is now looking like the very thing that might be speeding up her fall. And that is the part of this story that nobody online is really talking about yet. If you have been paying attention to how this is playing out, hit subscribe. I cover these celebrity fallout stories every single week, and the next one is going to be even bigger. Now let me walk you through how bad the actual fallout has gotten, because the numbers tell a story that social media arguments cannot. Nike pulled away, Old Navy pulled away, Lexus pulled away. These were not small partnerships. These were major national brands that had been writing big checks to have Billie Eilish attached to their name. Companies that believed her image was safe enough to put in front of millions of customers. One by one, those partnerships quietly disappeared. No press releases, no dramatic goodbye statements, just silence where there used to be coordinated campaign rollouts. And in the brand world, that silence is the loudest possible message. It means the math no longer works. It means the risk of being linked to you is now worse than the cost of walking away from the deal entirely. By the time the Under Armour incident happened, Billie was reportedly down to just 2 active brand partnerships, Macy's and Under Armour. That is it. And now, after what happened on that set, Under Armour reportedly wants nothing to do with Billie Eilish once this commercial wraps up. They are said to be canceling all future projects with her, which means, if the reports are right, Billie might be one Macy's decision away from having 0 active brand deals. For a 20-something Grammy winner, that is wild to even say out loud. But the brand deals are only part of it. Reports say she has also lost several film opportunities. Cameos that were lined up for 2026 and 2027, gone. Deals to have her music featured in credit sequences for upcoming movies, also gone. And those kinds of deals are not easy to replace. Film placement money is some of the most steady income a music artist can have because it keeps paying long after the movie comes out. Soundtracks, streaming royalties, licensing fees. Losing those slots does not just hurt once, it hurts for years. And here is what a lot of fans do not understand. Streaming money alone does not keep a modern pop star's operation running. The real money comes from the business side. Brand deals, film placements, touring sponsors. Those are the deals that turn a pop star into a mogul. And that entire pipeline is drying up fast. Her team is not just dealing with a rough news cycle. They are watching the revenue streams shut off one by one, while the only remaining partnerships are on shaky ground. And honestly, that is what makes the Rachel Zegler comparison so hard to ignore. Rachel became known in the industry as someone who was difficult to work with behind the scenes on the Snow White production for Disney. She reportedly had issues with direction, with creative control, with how things were being handled on set. Sound familiar? And after that label stuck, studios stopped calling. Major roles stopped coming. It did not matter how talented she was, the reputation became bigger than the resume. Once the industry decides you are more trouble than you are worth, the math changes for good. Billie is walking down that same road right now. And the worst part is that every week, she and her team spend fighting the narrative instead of fixing the behavior. The harder it becomes to turn any of this around. So where does that leave Billie Eilish right now? Brand deals collapsing, film opportunities disappearing, her brother reportedly clashing with the very people trying to help her, a PR response that satisfied nobody, and an internet that has already decided what the story is and is not interested in hearing a different version. The industry is watching, brands are watching, and every week that goes by without a clear change in direction makes the hole deeper. Can she still make music? Sure. She still has a fan base that will stream her releases. She still has talent that nobody is questioning. But the version of Billie Eilish that was a global brand, the one who had Nike, Lexus, and Under Armour fighting for her name, the one who was getting offered movie cameos and film placements, that version is disappearing fast. And the longer this goes on, the harder it becomes for even the best PR team in the world to put it back together. Because the industry does not give unlimited second chances. It gives you a window, and right now, that window is closing fast.